I never imagined my own parents would one day call me and declare that my children weren't welcome at their family gathering. Yet there I was, standing in my cozy kitchen, clutching my phone in disbelief. Christmas was just a month away, and my mother's voice was unusually breezy as she spoke. "Sweetheart, we need to talk about Christmas this year." My heart lifted for a moment. Despite the subtle tensions that had lingered between us over the years, I cherished our family traditions. My kids, Mia and Ethan, loved their grandparents' sprawling house, filled with the scent of pine, gingerbread, and the glow of holiday lights. "Of course, Mom. What's the plan?" I asked, already envisioning the chaos of wrapping paper and the kids' laughter echoing through the rooms. There was a pause just long enough to make my stomach twist. "Well," Mom began, clearing her throat, "this year we're doing things a little differently. It's going to be a smaller gathering, more refined, just adults." I frowned, my grip tightening on the phone. "So, no kids at all?" Another pause, then hesitantly, "Not exactly." A cold dread settled in my chest. "What do you mean?" Mom sighed, as if I were the one making this difficult. "Clara, we adore Mia and Ethan, truly, but they're so lively. We think it'd be better if you found a sitter for them this year." I leaned against the counter, my knees suddenly weak. "So, just my kids? What about Sarah's?" Sarah, my older sister, was the family favorite, her life always seeming to align perfectly with our parents' expectations. Mom hesitated, and that's when I knew. "Sarah and Mark are bringing their girls," she admitted. "But you know, Clara, their kids are so calm, so well-mannered. It's just easier to have them there." A wave of heat surged through me, my face burning as if I'd been slapped. "Their kids, Mom? Mia's 6, Ethan's 3. They're full of energy, sure, but they're sweet, and they love you." "We just want a peaceful Christmas," Mom replied, her tone sharp now, irritated that I wasn't simply agreeing. "It's not personal, Clara." "Not personal?" My voice trembled, but I swallowed the anger threatening to spill over. This wasn't just about Christmas. It was the way my parents had always treated my children as less than, while Sarah's daughters were practically canonized. The way they attended every one of Lily and Grace's piano recitals, but forgot Mia's art show. The way their birthday gifts for my kids were always afterthoughts, while Sarah's girls got personalized keepsakes. And now they weren't even pretending anymore. "I can't believe this," I whispered. "You're telling me my kids aren't welcome, but Sarah's are?" "Oh, Clara, don't be so dramatic," Mom sighed. "You and Tom are still invited, of course." I almost laughed at the absurdity. They wanted me there, but not the two people I loved most in the world. "No, Mom," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "If my kids aren't welcome, neither am I." A long silence stretched between us. Then Mom huffed, as if I were the unreasonable one. "Suit yourself." And with that, she hung up. I stood there, staring at the phone, my breath uneven. In the next room, I could hear Mia and Ethan giggling as they played with their toy trains, completely unaware that their grandparents, the ones they adored, had just dismissed them like an inconvenience. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. I'd spent my life trying to earn my parents' approval, but at what cost? If I let this slide, if I went to that Christmas dinner while my kids sat at home wondering why they weren't good enough, what kind of mother would I be? Number, I wasn't doing this anymore. They'd made their choice, and now it was time for me to make mine. They'd regret it sooner than they thought. The weight of my mother's words clung to me long after the call ended. I stood in the kitchen, the hum of the dishwasher, the only sound breaking the silence. My phone sat on the counter, its screen dark, but my fingers still trembled from gripping it so tightly. My heart pounded with a mix of fury and grief. I'd always known my parents favored Sarah, but I convinced myself it wasn't that bad that deep down. They loved us all equally, but tonight they'd shattered that illusion without a hint of remorse. A burst of laughter from the living room pulled me back. I turned to see Mia and Ethan sprawled on the rug, their toy trains derailed in a glorious crash. My chest tightened. They deserved so much better than this. I squared my shoulders and walked into the room, forcing a smile. Hey, you two, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Who's up for a hot chocolate night? Ethan's eyes lit up. With marshmallows? Extra marshmallows, I promised, scooping him into my arms and kissing his forehead. As we headed to the kitchen, the anger inside me simmered. I'd spent years trying to fit into my parents' world, bending over backward to meet their expectations, hoping that if I just did everything right, they'd see me as equal to Sarah. But it was never enough, and I was done trying. The next morning, I woke to a text from Sarah. Mom says you're being difficult about Christmas. Why do you always have to make everything so complicated? I stared at the screen, my jaw clenching. Of course, Mom had already spun the story to paint me as the villain. I typed back, did she tell you she uninvited my kids but invited yours? The typing bubbles appeared, then vanished. A minute later, her response came. She just wants a calm Christmas, Clara. You know how your kids can be a bit much? A bit much? Like they were a problem to be managed, not cherished. Something inside me snapped. Enjoy your perfect Christmas, Sarah. I won't be there. I sent the message and turned off my phone before she could reply. They didn't want me or my children at their precious Christmas dinner. Fine. I wouldn't be part of their world anymore. And they were about to learn what that really meant. For years, I'd been the dependable one. When my parents needed someone to drive them to doctor's appointments, they called me. When their computer crashed, I was the one troubleshooting over the phone. When they needed help planning their anniversary party, I was the one making lists and booking venues. And Sarah? She was the golden child, breezing in with her perfect family, doing the bare minimum while soaking up all the praise. But if I wasn't part of their ideal family, they could say goodbye to my help, too. A week before Christmas, my mother called again. I debated letting it go to voicemail, but curiosity won out. Hello, Clara, she said, her tone cautious, like she was stepping around broken glass. I just wanted to check in. I know you were upset, but I really hope you'll reconsider. We'd love to have you and Tom at Christmas. Not you and the kids, just you and Tom. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I meant what I said, Mom. If my kids aren't welcome, neither am I. She sighed, long and dramatic, as if I were exhausting her. I don't understand why you're being so stubborn. It's just one night. You know how much Sarah's girls mean to us. And there it was, the truth laid bare. My children, the two brightest lights in my life, would never measure up in her eyes. I clenched my jaw. You've made it clear where we stand, Mom. I won't bother you again. Clara, don't be like this, she started, but I ended the call before she could finish. This time, I didn't cry. I felt resolute. I started small. When Dad texted asking if I could help set up their new smart thermostat, I left it unread. When Mom emailed asking me to pick up a package for them, I archived it. For years, I'd been their go-to-fix-it person, always available, always reliable, but not anymore. By the time Christmas approached, I'd ignored a dozen calls and half as many texts. Then, on Christmas Eve, I got a message from Sarah. Mom and Dad are really upset that you're ghosting them. Are you seriously going to let this go this far? I replied. It went too far when they told me my kids weren't welcome. Merry Christmas. Then I blocked her number. That Christmas, we created our own magic. Mia and Ethan helped Tom string lights around the living room, their faces glowing with excitement. We baked cookies, watched holiday movies, and played board games until midnight. It was our Christmas, free from judgment, and for the first time in years, I felt at peace. But I should have known my parents wouldn't let it end there. Their next move would push me to a place I never thought I'd go. Christmas morning was everything I'd hoped for. The kids tore into their presents, their laughter filling the house. Tom and I sipped coffee, watching them with contented smiles. There was no rush, no pressure to perform for anyone else's approval. It was perfect. Then my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. When it buzzed again, and then a third time, Tom raised an eyebrow. Want me to handle it? I shook my head. If it's urgent, I should know, I answered, keeping my tone flat. What is it, Mom? Oh, now you pick up, she snapped. I suppose you're just sulking at home while we're all here having a wonderful Christmas. I sighed. If you called to rub it in, I don't have time. That's not why I called, she said, her voice turning sharp. I need to ask you something. Did you cancel the account? I frowned, confused. What account? The bank account, she said, as if it were obvious. The one we've been using for household expenses. It's frozen. A chill ran through me. Years ago, when Mom had been laid off and Dad's business was struggling, I'd set up a joint account to help cover their bills temporarily. I'd meant to close it once they were stable, but between work and raising kids, I'd forgotten it existed. They'd never mentioned still using it. You mean my account? I asked, my voice low. Mom scoffed. Don't be dramatic, Clara. It's just an account. You've got a good job, and we assumed you were fine with it. Fine with it? My voice shook. You've been draining my account without asking, while telling me my kids aren't good enough for your Christmas table. Don't act like we're thieves, she snapped. We raised you. The least you can do is help us out. I inhaled sharply, my anger boiling over. Are you serious? After everything, you still expect me to bankroll you? Mom sighed, long and theatrical. This is why we don't have these conversations with you, Clara. You always blow things out of proportion. Blow things out of proportion. I was done. You're right about one thing, Mom. I did freeze the account. And let me be clear, you won't see another penny from me. Ever, she gasped. Clara, don't be ridiculous, and don't expect invites to birthdays, graduations, or anything else. I continued, my voice icy. You made your choice when you rejected my kids. Now I'm making mine. You'll regret this, she hissed, and then she hung up. I stood there, my heart racing, but a strange calm settled over me. I turned back to the living room, where Tom was helping Mia untangle a new toy. Everything okay? He asked. I nodded, a small smile breaking through. Yeah, just setting some boundaries. We spent the rest of the day wrapped in our own little world, but I knew this wasn't over. My parents weren't the type to let go of control so easily, and their next move would prove just how far they were willing to go. The weeks after Christmas were blissfully quiet. No calls, no texts, no guilt trips. I threw myself into my family, savoring the freedom of living without my parents' expectations. Mia started a new art class, and Ethan's preschool teacher raved about his imagination. Tom and I even planned a spring getaway, something we hadn't done in years. For the first time, I felt like I was building a life on my terms. Then, on New Year's Eve, it all came crashing back. We were hosting a small party, just a few close friends, music, and a spread of snacks. Mia and Ethan were in their element, wearing sparkly party hats and counting down to midnight with exaggerated enthusiasm. The house was warm, filled with laughter and the clink of glasses. And then a knock at the door. I froze, a sinking feeling in my gut. Tom shot me a look, expecting anyone. I shook my head and walked to the door, peering through the peephole. My heart sank. There they were, Mom, Dad, Sarah, and her husband, Mark. An ambush. I opened the door, crossing my arms. What do you want? Mom smiled, but it was the same saccharine grin she used when she wanted something. Happy New Year, sweetheart. We just want to talk. No thanks, I said, my voice flat. Dad sighed. Clara, enough. You've made your point. Let's fix this before it goes too far. Too far. I raised an eyebrow. What does that mean? Mom exchanged a glance with Sarah, then spoke, her tone dripping with false concern. We're worried about the kids, Clara. You're cutting them off from their family over a silly misunderstanding. That's not fair to them. My pulse quickened. What are you trying to say? Sarah stepped forward, her expression smug. We've been talking to a lawyer, Clara, about grandparents' rights. For a moment, the world tilted. Then I laughed a sharp, incredulous sound that made them flinch. You're serious? You think a judge is going to force my kids to spend time with you after you stole from me and treated them like they're less than Sarah's girls? Mom's eyes narrowed. We've done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. I stepped forward, my voice low and dangerous. You used my money for years without asking. You told me my kids weren't good enough for your perfect Christmas. And now, because I finally said no, you're threatening me with a lawsuit? Dad's jaw tightened. You don't want to do this, Clara. I pulled out my phone, holding it up. Oh, I do. I've got every bank statement, every text, every voicemail. If you try this, I will make sure everyone sees who you really are. Sarah gasped. Clara, come on, no! I snapped, my eyes locked on my parents. You have no case and you know it. Push me and I'll push back harder. Silence. For the first time, they looked uncertain. Mom's face twisted with anger. You're being unreasonable. I smiled, cold and steady. No, Mom, I'm finally free. I stepped back and grabbed the door. Happy New Year. Then I slammed it shut. They never followed through on their legal threat. They knew they had nothing, no evidence, no leverage, no moral ground to stand on. In the weeks that followed, the silence from my family was deafening. No calls, no texts, no passive-aggressive emails. And for the first time, it felt like victory. Spring arrived, bringing with it a sense of renewal. I sat on our porch one afternoon, watching Mia and Ethan chase fireflies as the sun dipped below the horizon. Tom joined me, handing me a glass of iced tea. It's been quiet, he said, a knowing smile on his face. Yeah, I replied, sipping my drink. Feels good? Think they'll try again? I watched my kids, their laughter carrying on the warm breeze. Doesn't matter. We're done playing their game. And we were. I'd spent years chasing my parents' approval, but in the end, I didn't need it. I had my kids, my husband, my chosen family, the ones who loved us without conditions, who showed up without expecting anything in return. Mia and Ethan would grow up knowing they were enough, just as they were. And no one, not my parents, not Sarah, not anyone would ever make them feel otherwise. As the fireflies danced in the twilight, I realized something. I hadn't just cut ties with my parents. I'd built something better. A family rooted in love, not obligation. And that was worth everything.